Hello, my mate Vince here, and in this video today we're going to try to fix up this Bose little music system here. I bought it faulty off eBay. It didn't come with the remote control, and you need a remote control to operate this. There's no buttons on this whatsoever. So I purchased one off Amazon. It was only about £8, so not too expensive. Now, it was sold as faulty, but it didn't say what the problem was. And when you plug it in, it's weird. It sometimes turns on for a second and then turns off again. The clock always works, but if I try to put in a CD even without the remote, it will basically put it in but then eject it. Or if I can get it to play, it will skip tracks. Let me show you. It only works though when it's cold, and we all know what that means. I'll come to that in a minute. Right, let's plug it in here. You see the clock will also always work. In fact, I've set the time. The time is correct and it is holding its time. But watch this. If I, well, let me do it here now. If I put this in, it will say reading disk. Oh, it's not going to eject it now. Right, let's see if it skips. So already it sounds like it's having problems. Yeah, it's like it's stuck. There we go. Hear it skipping? Yeah, you can hear that's not right. Let's put the volume up. Eject. But when you first of all turn it on from completely cold, is it going to eject? Yeah. Then what will happen is, when you do that, it will just go back to the clock screen again. So it will kind of just turn itself off after turning itself on. It will go back to that. But if I was to play the radio on it for 5, 10, 15 minutes, then the CD works. We know what it is, don't we? It's heat related. It's going to be capacitor related. So let's get it over to the blue mat. Let's find out, rather than just changing out all the capacitors, maybe we can try heating up individual capacitors and see when it starts working. The problem here is that if I have it plugged in for too long, it's just going to start working all the time anyway. So it might be one of those kind of intermittent faults. By rights, you should just change all the capacitors, but that will lead to the most boring fix in the world. So let's just see if we can pinpoint the actual capacitor that has failed, rather than just swapping out 20 caps or whatever's in here. Let's get started. Okay, I'm unplugged. Let's open it up. So there's loads of Phillips screws around the back here, and it says clock but not turning on. But it is turning on, but not all the time. Also, something's rattling. This particular model number is AWR-CC6. Right, okay, well I can already see plastic. Oh wow, loads. Bits of plastic here, plastic here. Don't know where all that's come from. That looks like maybe one of the screw posts has gone. And there's loads of shavings of plastic, that's odd. Right, you can see the foam has started to break down against here. So we've got a screw post here and a screw post here, which is no longer. You just have the two speakers at the front, and then it uses some kind of, I remember this one on the Mike's one. He sent me a newer one than this, but again it was just two speakers, and they have some kind of like tube system on the inside here to make it sound a lot bassier and stuff than what you would believe with just two speakers. They are very popular products. Let's take it apart a bit more. Is this going to lift off? Unplug that. Right, it looks like we have the speakers connected down here, and we also have this transformer connected here. So let's try to undo them. I've still got to be wary of the capacitors because it might be, there still might be charge in here. Yes, okay. And we can undo this one here as well. Do you know what, this really is reminding me of Mike's one. I think this was the same sort of setup. There we go. Right, so that's all away now. Oh, ribbon cable, careful. Let me just take a picture of that so I know which way to put it back in. Right, okay. So there's not going to be anything here because we know the display works fine and it sounds fine when it's working. So, more plastic broken, oops. God, I was lucky I didn't break that ribbon cable there. That was very close to breaking. Yeah, I got lucky there. Right, let me take a picture of all these as well. Do you know what, I'm going to undo them all from here, because if I'm using heat on the board, I don't want to melt these cables. Well, it doesn't look like there's dirt or anything. Obviously, it could be a fault with the laser itself, but the fact it works when it gets warm says to me that all this here is going to be okay. Well, we have a ton of electrolytic caps here, but they're the SMD ones. There's loads of them. What is that there? Whoa! Look at this on what I presume is like the sound chip. What is that stuff in there? What is that? It's kind of like cobwebs or earth or something. Oh, do you know what this is? Simple. This is the foam breaking down from here. The foam that's covering the speaker cables, that's all that is. I thought there might be some spider's eggs or something, or I don't know, ant's nest. Right, okay, don't need to worry about any of that. I can clean that afterwards, just vacuum it out. So now, we've got two boards here. And the CD player connects here. So this must be the board that I need to worry about. Unless, of course, the power comes from here, but I doubt it. Whoa. Do not reuse. Oh well. Right, we've got a chip, and that's it. So let's zoom in and see if we can see any of these capacitors, see if they're bulged. So we'll just look at all of them for a moment. So we've got some weird marking at the very back here. But I think that's leaked down from the top, you see here? I think that's leaked down from here. Alright, they don't look bulged. See, by rights, these probably all need changing now. But it's just soul destroying. Also, I don't enjoy it for a fix-it video. It's better to find the faulty one. Right, none of them look bulged, do they? And it doesn't look like the pads have leaked on them. You know, when you look here, it doesn't look all corroded here. We know it's keeping the time, so the battery must be okay. Let's just double check that. There you go, 2.5 volts. Not sure what it should be. 5.5 volts. Hold on, 0.3. Oh, is this one of these super capacitor things? Where did I see one of them before? I think it was on the original Xbox. Okay. So I'm not actually sure what that should read voltage wise. That might be just, for example, the same way that this cap is 6 volts, but it's up to a maximum of 6 volts. Not really sure how to read them. But it is remembering the time. Right, now let's look at this other board down here. Right, nothing's leaked. Everything, in my opinion, looks just fine. So, let's do ESR tests on them. And hopefully with the ESR meter we can read them in circuit, and it might give us an indication about which caps might be faulty. Because with a capacitor, really you can only read it out of circuit for a good reading. But it might give us a clue as to which ones have gone. Right, I'm on auto range here. And the black mark on one side is the negative. Right, so it says 16 volt, 47 microfarad. 16 volt, 47, it should be 1.6 or less. And you can see it's 0.9, well it's 1, it should be 1.6 or less. So that cap will be okay. If you have a look closely, you can see how to read these ones. So ignore the number at the very top. But if we were to look at this little one here, you can see that it says 10, 16 volts. That's 10 microfarads, 16 volts. This one would be 50 volts at 0.47 microfarad. This would be 50 volts at 1 microfarad. Coming down here, 10 volts, 16 volts at 10 microfarad, 47 microfarad, 6 volts. Right, it's going to take quite some time, so I'm just going to whiz through it, and we'll see if it pulls anything up. Right, well we've already got a problem here on that next one we looked at. So look at this one here. In fact, it doesn't seem to be sitting very nice either. Maybe that one has swollen up a little bit. Right, you can see it says 33 microfarad at 10 volts, yeah? And if we have a look here, 10 volts, I haven't got 33, but 47 is 2.2 and 22 is 5.4. So I presume we're going to be looking at around about 3 point something, but it's way over that. So I think we found our first 40 one. Can you see there? 6.65, yeah? I mean, if it was 22 microfarad, it'd be 5.4. So we need it to be around about like 3 or 4, and it's 6.64. So I think that one might well be faulty. So let me get a little Sharpie, and I'm going to put a little dot on the ones that I think are faulty. Because remember, when they're out of circuit, they might be okay. I'm going to go across the rest. Right, this one, I don't know what that means. D1, fair enough, E1, D3, etc. But look, to begin with, the markings have gone here. But what does UD mean? Never seen that before. All the rest have voltage marks, but that says UD. So I don't know what that means. Right, this is 16 volt, 10 microfarad. Worst case scenario should be 8 ohms, and it's 14 ohms. So again, in circuit, this one looks like it's faulty. In circuit, pretty much most of them are reading faulty. Wow, so that one, 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 all seem to be over or very close. There is a stack of capacitors here. Realistically, they probably all need to be done. Let's just have a quick look up here. I'm just going to go across a couple. So this is a 22, 16 volt. 16 volt 22 should be 3.6 worst case scenario. It's 8. What? Oh no. I'm wondering if I just recap the whole thing. That's going to be so boring. Do you know what? Maybe I'm wasting my time. I wanted to prove it was just one faulty capacitor, but I think it's an accumulation of things. Maybe the fact it doesn't always turn on could be related to some capacitors. The fact that it's skipping could be related to other capacitors. The CD player might be one part of it that's not working, but the fact it doesn't turn on is probably related to other stuff. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a quick little sweep down, get rid of all this foam, and yeah, I'm just going to start replacing capacitors. Oh, this big cap is low voltage anyway, isn't it? Because we have the external transformer. This is 1000 microfarad, 25 volts. Right, I have got a pack here of small electrolytic surface mounts, and I've got a big lot of the electrolytic through holes. So hopefully between both of them, I should be able to get things to match. I don't care if the voltage is higher. For example, if one is 6 volts, 47 microfarad, I'm quite happy to put in a 10 volt. 47 microfarad, yeah. As long as the capacitance is the same, it's fine to go higher on the voltage, not lower. I wouldn't want to put in, for example, a 2 volt one if it's asking for 6 volts, but 10 volts will be fine. So I am just going to whiz through that now. I'm going to get my soldering iron on, and I'm just going to go replace everything. You can listen to a bit of music, and then I will. I'll probably just do the rest off camera. I'll do a few on camera, but realistically, there's probably going to be. I'm going to time it. I think there's going to be 1.5 hours work here. So you place your bets. Let me know what you think it's going to be. Now to remove them, I'm hoping it's going to be marked up on the board. Let's remove, let's start with this one here. I'm wondering if I should just do everything. Maybe I should just do everything. If I'm going to the bother of doing everything anyway. So I'm going to heat up one side, try to lift it up. I don't care if it breaks as long as it doesn't break the pads. Remember as well, not all of these might be faulty. I was measuring in circuit. But that's not wanting to lift up. So we're going to get some leaded solder. Now that side's up. There we go. Now, is it marked up on the board? No, it's not, so that's going to make it even harder. So I have to remember which one each one comes off, or I'll show you in a second, you just need to get your multimeter, and then you'll find out which side is the negative if you forget. There we go, that's clean now. This is going to take a long time. As you can tell, I hate just doing swapping over capacitors. It is the most boring thing. But watch this. Let's say if you've forgotten which way it is, if we take a ground like this, you will see that one side will not be ground and one side will. So you know that's the negative side of the capacitor. Okay, I'm going to just get some IPA. I'm going to clean up under each one as we go in case there is some leakage. This is a 4716 volt. I'm going to put in a 4735 volts. There's a little bit of flux. The pads are nice and clean, so it's going to lie flat. Hopefully I can just get my soldering iron and get it into place. There we go, you're on. I'll clean it up with all isopropyl alcohol at the very end. Let's zoom in. Right, that is one that's been changed over. I must have about, shall I quickly count? 49 to go. What? So there's 50 capacitors all in all. Right, music time. Ah, now this is interesting. I've taken this one off here. Luckily, I know this is negative, but can you hear this one isn't going down to ground? Yeah, so not all capacitors will go down to ground because they might be used going into maybe the speakers to block DC. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some close pictures.
Minutes later.
Right, I'm not doing no more. I can't face it. I've been 42 minutes and that's my fill. There's something about changing out capacitors, and these ones here just remind me totally of the Game Gear ones. Luckily these ones don't smell of fish, so that's a positive, but it's just it's soul destroying. Anyway, look, it looks like nobody's really been in here. I've managed to put all the SMD caps back apart from these two here. I didn't have 22 microfarad ones, so I had to use the through-hole ones. I've done everything on this board apart from this one that says UD at the end, because I don't know what value this is. Not only is the microfarad marking sort of erased from one side, I don't know what voltage it should be, so I'm not messing with that one there. And there was no, I didn't put a dot on that one, but the thing is I don't know what it measures, so I don't know what it should be to measure. I'm leaving this board completely as it is, so I've only done this board here. We'll see if it works. I know I should be replacing all of them, but you know what? I'm going to end up using pretty much all of these. I'll be honest with you, I know it should be changed. I know they all should be changed. I can't face it. It's as simple as that. I do have a lot of perseverance, but that's when it comes to more interesting stuff. Doing stuff like this is just, it would just drive me crazy. Anyway, you can see it went on nice again there, so it hasn't taken up any excess room because I made sure the through-hole ones were lying nice and flat. Of course, I made sure the legs were not shortened against any other resistors, capacitors, stuff like that. Right, let's put it all back together. I would like to pinpoint what the faulty cap is, but as you've seen from the ESR readings, they were well, they were nearly like 60–70% of them seem to be well out. So I think that's going to be the case across the board here. Anyway, let's put it back together and see if it is working. And the answer to that question is yes, it works perfectly. So the radio always worked anyway, aux in always worked, headphone jacks always worked, but it used to skip before in a CD. But watch this now, it's currently off. When I put in the Great Daniel, it will start working and it won't skip at all. Now we know the skipping was to do with the capacitors, but the fact it was turning itself on and off before I had the remote control, I thought maybe to do with the backboard. But thinking about it, if it's got a problem playing the CD, maybe if it lacks power, it thinks that the person has actually turned it off here because that's the symptoms it was doing. So maybe it's all related to the front board. But watch this. It works every single time, doesn't matter what track I do. You will hear now that there'll be no skipping at all. There we go. Now I've got to be careful with the old copyright. If I skip here, 2, 3... let's go up to, I don't know what it goes up to. What's it go up to? Oh, there's loads. Oh, it's all Daniel. There you go, 23. Let's go to the very end. Can you hear how different it is? There's no skipping like there was before. So there we have it. One fixed Bose little audio system and eject. But is it properly fixed? No. It needs to have the caps replaced at the back as well, but I've already explained why I personally don't want to do that. For me, the enjoyment comes from the fault finding and also seeing inside the device. Now, I've already seen inside one of these. I've seen inside Mike's one when I had it a few months ago, so I already know that there's only 2 speakers in it. The inside looks identical, and when I knew it was capacitors before even working on it, then the enjoyment has gone for myself personally. But I mean, it's a capable little system. And what's nice is this dims down. If I turn all the lights off, that will get brighter. And then, no, sorry, when I turn the lights off, this dims down. So if you were to use it as a bedside clock radio, then it's not going to keep you awake all night. So it's got nice little features on it. And it's a very easy to use device, you know, to set the alarm, to set the time and stuff is all very easy to do. So I can see why people would want to keep their one, especially if they pay £500 for it or whatever it was back in the day. So I hope you did enjoy this video. I appreciate this one. For me, it was quite a boring one, but it still might be helpful to certain people out there if they want to fix their own one by changing out the capacitors. Give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and hopefully the next one will be more interesting. Thanks for watching.